This is DW News live from Berlin. The leaders of the U.S. and Ukraine clash in a fiery meeting in the Oval Office. Donald Trump accuses Volodymyr Zelenskyy of gambling with World War III. He says the Ukrainian leader is being disrespectful and asking for U.S. security guarantees and should come back when he's ready for peace with Russia. Welcome to the program. I'm Nicole Fröhlich. Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy have clashed in a bad-tempered meeting at the Oval Office in the White House. Trump accused Zelenskyy of gambling with World War III. He said the Ukrainian leader was being disrespectful and asking for U.S. security guarantees and is not ready for peace with Russia. Zelenskyy said any ceasefire can only work with such guarantees. It's not clear whether a planned agreement on the U.S. sharing Ukraine's mineral wealth will now go ahead. Now, Trump told Zelenskyy, make a deal or we're out, before the talks ended and Zelenskyy left the White House. The two leaders had a series of ill-humored exchanges. Let's listen in.
The very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Cards.
Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
I can tell you
you're
again,
running low on soldiers.
Listen, please,
you're running
Mr.
low
President.
on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what,
that wasn't with me.
Means.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
Truly remarkable day and occasion. Let's bring in our Washington bureau chief, Ines Pohl, and DW correspondent Nick Connolly to take a closer look at this meeting. Ines, let's start with you. Zelenskyy leaving the Oval Office without a deal and a joint news conference between the two leaders. What do you make of the shouting match we just witnessed there?
Well, it's good that you just replayed it, and we were, of course, following it over the last hours. We just have to step out a little bit, Nicole, I think, to kind of try to understand what a historic moment we are in the history of the relationship between, of course, Ukraine and the United States, but also of Europe and the United States. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, and the president of Ukraine shouted at each other for many minutes in the White House. It's unheard of. It has never happened before, and here are many White House correspondents who are covering the Oval Office since many years, and everybody's kind of shocked. This has never been seen. Obviously, Zelensky wasn't prepared to take this criticism. The tone in which J.D. Vance and Trump spoke with Zelensky is humiliating. I think one can say that. They were really taking down on him, but Zelensky obviously also didn't really have a plan how to counter that. Maybe he should have started the conversation with a big thankful, because this is what Donald Trump expected. But of course, I'm sure there will be a lot of analysis how this kind of started this conversation and how it moved on. But from what I saw here is really that J.D. Vance, by saying that there aren't enough men on the ground in Ukraine, really triggered something in Zelensky, who is obviously and understandably so on the edge, and then everything went down south, and J.D. Vance, the vice president, definitely didn't help to calm things down. The two of them, that's also like, think about the setup. There were the vice president, the president, and Marco Rubio, the defense minister. All three of them kind of criticize him, Zelensky, very harshly, and he was kind of probably felt like put in a corner and feeling very alone out there. And the only way out he saw was obviously just leaving the Oval Office.
Ines, this was only the public part of the meeting. How do you think their exchange continued behind closed doors?
Well, this is speculation. I don't know. Obviously, they didn't turn the corner. There was some hope because it took a moment. You know, we saw how it happened here. So I can explain that a little bit to you. We are standing on a piece of grass in front of the Oval Office, and we can be here and report about things going on in the Oval Office until someone arrives or leaves the Oval Office. And this place got cleared like 15 minutes or so before Zelensky left the White House. Then his big car came and everybody was waiting for him to leave the Oval Office, and then it took another 10 minutes or so, and everybody was hoping that they maybe find a way, once the press has left, to calm the conversation down and go back to the negotiation table. But obviously this didn't happen, and then Trump immediately put out this social media notice. So I can't say anything else, but I think it didn't go any better when the press has left.
Mick Connolly in Kyiv. How's this being seen back home? Are Ukrainians proud of Zelensky for standing up to Trump? Or are there concerns he may have burned an important bridge?
I haven't seen much in the way of criticism for how Zelensky carried himself during this meeting. There's more a sense that this was basically a trap that Trump and Vance had set up for Zelensky, that they were basically, trying to ambush him anyway, starting with those comments from Trump when he met Zelensky at the kind of getting out of his car, telling him, oh, he's all dressed up, speaking about the kind of military fatigues that Zelensky wears today in a kind of black version. There was more a kind of comment about that from Vance and others there in the room. So a sense that just even on a kind of human level, this was a pretty hostile meeting from the get-go, even though in the days before we'd had a sense that the kind of some of the conflicts between the two had been resolved, at least in part, because of the kind of more conciliatory language we'd heard from Trump after his meetings with Macron and Starmer, talking about Ukrainian resilience and kind of heroism on the battlefield. So there's a real sense here in Ukraine that basically Trump is looking for an excuse to dump Ukraine and to put the blame for things on the Ukrainian shoulders, say, okay, they didn't want a deal, so that's their problem, even though that deal, as Zelensky was trying to say, is basically the same thing that Ukraine tried to do in 2014, just freeze the front lines and hope that Russia doesn't invade again. Zelensky trying to explain to his host that that doesn't work without guarantees that will scare off Vladimir Putin, but Trump hearing none of it.
Ines, I, for one, and I'm sure it's the same for you, have never seen anything like this. Are U.S.-Ukrainian ties now doomed, or can this be repaired?
I don't know. I don't see Donald Trump backing back here or getting back here from that. You know, this all happened in the Oval Office, and this is kind of a sacred space here, not only in the White House area, but in the whole United States. If they come together at a negotiation table, then it definitely would only happen if Zelenskyy really says a very, very loud and convincing sorry. Having that said, I actually really believe that Donald Trump wants this deal, and he wanted this deal. He also wants peace, whatever peace would mean long term, but he wants at least a ceasefire, because he wants to be praised as a peacemaker. People say he's aiming for the Nobel Prize, Peace Nobel Prize. This might be also true. And what I heard yesterday when I attended the press conference with the British Prime Minister, and how he talked about the meeting, today's meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, he was, I think, really convinced that they will sign this mineral deal. He still wants that, but that's, of course, a big fight which happened here in the Oval Office, and Donald Trump wants to come out as the winner, and I don't see, at least at the moment, how Zelenskyy ever can come back. Are there others who will be able to negotiate? What do other European leaders now do after this big fallout? I mean, it's interesting. The Polish Prime Minister just tweeted, "We are with you together," addressing Zelenskyy. So that was a very fast, quick reaction from Tusk. So we shall see what we hear also from European leaders in the next hours and days to come, because now, of course, there's a lot of pressure on them to bridge that relationship again.
Exactly. Nick, is there a sense in Ukraine that should this really be the end of U.S.-Ukrainian relationship, this relationship really be left in tatters, that Europe can provide enough security guarantees if need be?
Well, that's certainly the hope. Whether it ends up being possible is a totally different question. We have seen already since the kind of J.D. Vance speech at the Munich Security Conference, obviously, Europe scrambling to kind of work out how it can defend itself, let alone Ukraine, without American support. We've had lots of kind of frenzied diplomacy between Kiev and European capitals now, especially when they were talking about peacekeepers. And, you know, there was always the sense that this would only be Europeans, this would be probably the Brits and the French leading any peacekeeping mission. But in terms of the support that Ukraine has relied on since the beginning of this war, there are just some fields where American support is pretty much irreplaceable, even if, for instance, you know, Germany has given a lot in the way of Patriot missile systems, but those are all, produced in America by American factories, and that is not something that can be replaced in a hurry. If America doesn't allow these things to be re-exported to Ukraine, that is a problem. So it's not just about boots on the ground and kind of the more basic kind of military supplies that maybe Europe can replace, but in terms of intelligence, right now Ukraine is able to shoot down the majority of Russian missiles because it gets a lot of intelligence from America about when the planes that launch those missiles are about to take off, is able to prepare, and is able to waste fewer of its interceptor missiles, taking those missiles flying to Ukraine out of the sky. So it is going to be very tough, but it is basically seemingly the only option. I think there is still some hope in Ukraine that America is not just Trump, that the kind of bipartisan support that Ukraine has enjoyed in Congress since the beginning of this war, that some of that still remains, and that some of these lawmakers might stand up to Trump and still send money there this way without him. That's, I guess, why Zelenskyy was meeting them before the meeting with Trump today, trying to shore that up. But it is very, very scary, uncharted, basically, territory. That's an overused term, but I think this genuinely is something new and something that is not going to be easy to overcome anytime soon.
Uncharted territory. We really are hearing that a lot these days. That was Nick Connolly in Kyiv and Ines Pohl in the White House in Washington, covering this truly historic day for us. Thank you so much. And just a quick reminder of our top story today. Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy have clashed in a bad-tempered meeting at the Oval Office in the White House. Trump accused Zelenskyy of gambling with World War III, and he said the Ukrainian leader was being disrespectful and asking for U.S. security guarantees against Russia. It's not clear whether a planned agreement on the U.S. sharing Ukraine's mineral wealth will go ahead. Trump also said Zelenskyy is not ready for peace. And that's all we have time for now. Join us again at the top of the next hour. Bye-bye.